He just, I don't, it was so weird, but I feel like he just had some kind of like peace from his own mind when he was doing it, which breaks my heart because I just wanted nothing more for him to be happy in his own life, you know, and I was always trying to help him find ways to be happy.
Kept saying, I can't believe my brother's dead. I can't believe my brother's dead.
We left and we came back. We were there for a while because it took a while to go through everything. We came back and I just noticed her like nodding out like this on the step.
Susan, how long have you lived out here?
On and off for 5 years in Camden.
Okay. And where did you come from, Susan?
Clementon in New Jersey originally.
Do you have family there?
Used to.
Is there any substance abuse at all?
Yeah, most of us, almost all of us, you know, definitely have substance abuse. First and foremost, mental illnesses, and then some physical.
Okay. So you've been out here for 5 years?
Yeah, I'm one of the newer ones, if you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. And do you get any treatment for your mental illness or for substance abuse?
Not for the substance abuse, but for my physical illness, as well as my mental illness, yeah.
Okay. So if there was help offered to you, like through the government, like to get clean and to get somewhere to live, would you do it?
A lot of us would.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they were a little lenient with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not so, you know, structured.
Tell me what happened to your friend.
He was high. He didn't overdose, but it was very cold outside. He had nowhere to go, and he just finally got his Social Security for 2 months. All his back pain, and he froze to death. Being outside all night because he had nowhere to go.
Jennifer, welcome.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where were you born and how many children do you have?
Well, I was born in Riverside, New Jersey, at a hospital that no longer exists at Zerberg. And I have 4 children, Eric, Amy, and Brad and Julia, who are twins.
What kind of a baby was Eric?
Well, Eric was the first grandchild all the way around, and my first child. He was a great baby. He got into everything. Very, I don't know, he explored everything, you know, hit all his milestones on cue. He was just a good little kid with the bright blonde hair. You couldn't tell when his hair finally came in because it was so blonde.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what were some of his hobbies growing up?
He loved skateboarding and BMX bikes and animals. He had ferrets. He had snakes. He liked to draw. He loved South Park and always drew Cartman and all the characters. What else did he like? He played soccer for Pal Riv until he got kicked off the team in 8th grade for fighting. But
okay.
And I guess all of that kind of dropped off sports-wise and everything once he hit high school. But
okay. How did his personality and his hobbies change over time?
I guess I don't remember exactly what grade, but maybe 5th or 6th grade. He was diagnosed with ADHD. And then his behavior just got a little more wild and erratic. Took him all over the place trying to find, what was going on. He was diagnosed, I think it was at 16 or 17, with bipolar disorder. And then, the sports were done. He was still into the animals, the cars, the drawing. But I don't know. He just, friends kind of dropped off. He kind of kept to himself more so. Unless it was his girlfriend from age 13, just those two together and just a handful of others. He just kind of shut himself out.
Okay. That must have been hard.
Yeah. Because I don't know. You want him to go out there and do things. He was I don't remember if it was all through high school. He was getting into a lot of fist fights. A lot of them he caused himself, but getting into a lot of fights, a lot of suspended. I'd be at work, getting another call, got to go pick him up. So there was a lot of that, a lot of doctor's appointments, psychiatrist appointments, trying different medications, trying to keep him in school. So it was rough, especially with the younger three, trying to raise them on my own too.
Yeah, having other children in the house. Jennifer, tell me about the day that Eric died. What do you remember from the moment you woke up? Take us through the day.
Well, that was November 2nd, 2021.
Somebody save me from myself.
First class of my second semester of grad school starting that night. I had an appointment I had to go to later. And so I was just being lazy until I had to do the stuff I needed to do. So I was taking a bath, texting with my daughters about Thanksgiving plans. And Eric's father called, and I ignored it the first time because I was just about to get into the shower.
Okay.
And he called back right away. And so I knew it had to be something. And when I answered the phone, he said, "Jen, Eric's gone." And I think the first thing I said, what do you mean he's gone? And he said he was dead. And he told me where he was. I hopped out of the shower, threw clothes on. I was obviously a gross wet mess.
In shock.
Yeah. I called my daughter Amy first. She didn't answer because she works at a school district in Massachusetts. She's like, "I can't answer right now." And I was like, "You have to answer the phone." So I told her. I knew she jumped in her car and drove an hour back to Boston and then drove home. Called my daughter down in Florida. Told her. She was also at work and flipped out. The next call I made was to my stepmother. I told her Eric was dead. She said, "Your father's in the shower. We'll come get you."
Was missing the moon. There were no shooting stars to use with
And then they drove me out to Pemberton. And that's when they were just wheeling Eric on the gurney into the medical examiner's van. I didn't know what to do. In hindsight, I feel like I should have said, "Can I see him?" But you don't think. And then after they took his body away, we just kind of hung around. It was out in Pemberton Township. We kind of hung around the motel in his room trying to figure things out, what happened, Then I drove his car back to his father's house in Chemong. It started raining, and Eric's windows are tinted so dark that I couldn't even see, unless you rolled the windows down. And the call I made in the car was to my friend Julie, who lived out in Kansas. I always get it mixed up. We were pregnant together.
Okay.
And our sons were born a couple weeks apart.
Wow.
So I
What
called
was
Julie.
that phone call like?
It was horrible. It was horrible. And I hadn't seen Julie in years. That's one of those friendships that, you don't talk for 5 years and you pick right back up. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, she died a few months ago. So, but if anybody was going to understand, it was her,
Do you remember from what exactly did he die from, and where do you think he got the drugs?
So initially, we had no idea. The autopsy, they did an autopsy, and we were told they thought it was his heart. So for months, I was going along thinking it was his heart. And then the tox results came back. January, February, March. It was 5 months later, 5.5 months later. And it was fentanyl and marijuana. So it was fentanyl-laced marijuana. In his phone, there were texts going back and forth with an individual about a drug buy. So he just trusted the wrong person.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he had bought marijuana from this person before? Do you think this was someone he trusted?
So Eric was living out in Pemberton to be close to his job until he would get laid off for the winter. And his girlfriend was out in that area. It's the only reason, but he had been out there for, I don't know, maybe a month or two, or it might have been somebody he had met from the job area too. Mm-hmm. Not really sure. It's not somebody that was a long time friend or anything, but
so they basically sold him marijuana that was laced with fentanyl, unbeknownst to him.
Yes. Eric was not a drug user. If anything, because of his bipolar disorder, he was more a marijuana smoker and a drinker, on and off. But he was not a drug user. And he just happened to trust the wrong person, and he didn't expect it to be laced. We never in our wildest dreams would have thought that would be what would happen.
Mm-hmm. It's really brave for you to be talking about all of this.
Something inside of me's broken. I hold on to anything that sets me free. I'm a lost cause. Baby, don't waste your time on me. I'm so damaged beyond repair.
Welcome, Nicole.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Nicole, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Nicole. I'm a mother of 4 kids, married. Kind of like for now.
You love the beach.
Okay. Yeah, I love the beach. I love spending time with my family. I love doing things with my kids. I love cooking for them and baking for them and just spending time with my family and friends.
Okay. Where were you born? I know you said you have 4 children.
Yes, I have 4 children. I was born in Camden, New Jersey, Lady of Lourdes Hospital.
Okay.
I still think that's the best hospital. I pretty much grew up in Gloucester City and Belmar.
Tell me a little bit about your son.
Eddie was a really, really cool kid. Like, he was just like fun to watch grow up. He just had the biggest personality. As soon as the camera turned on, he'd be dancing around to like Britney Spears or Backstreet Boys, like just putting on a show. He was always just great with other kids. As he got older, him and a lot of the neighborhood kids got into skateboarding. So they were just out there building themselves ramps, like just so adventurous, like always trying to find things to get into.
Okay.
Taking my video camera, you know, go ghost hunting in like old buildings or something like that. Just cool stuff. Eventually, as he got older, he got into a program at school that taught him how to play the drums, and he loved it. He had a great time with it, but then he picked up a guitar one day and decided that was his thing. So he got really into playing the guitar and just making music with his friends. They always tried to have some little band and record something.
Yeah.
No matter what, they were always recording, whether it was skateboarding or, you know, playing music or something like that. They were always into something. Okay. They weren't just sitting around, you know. They made YouTube videos, which if I can find them, they're hilarious, of just like
that's great.
Little stunts they would do and stuff like that.
It sounds like he was the kind of kid that was always on the go.
He was always on the go.
Yeah.
He never wanted to sit still.
Okay.
That was, his teachers would be like, oh, he talks a lot. And I'd be like, yes, he does, because he's inquisitive and he just loved to ask questions, and he was very passionate about what he wanted to do. We used to joke and say that he always looked like he was doing some like interpretive dancing or something, because he was always dancing around. Like and there's some great things that I have now. I mean, like all of his little YouTube videos and stuff like that, like they're out there. And every once in a while I remember and I look them up and, you know, rewatch them and stuff. But yeah, it's like, it was just stuff that was funny to me because it was also new to me. And I didn't really know technology. Like it was newer to us. So it was cool that like him and his friends were always trying to, you know, figure all that stuff out. And I was always like, what are you doing? Like, I don't even know what all this stuff is. But now it's like so cool looking back. And his friends, like, that's really great memories for them, because they always talk about that when I see them. And they're like, oh, remember when we used to go to your house and make YouTube videos, and like your house was like the fun place to be. And we loved like hanging out there. And, you know, I didn't realize it at the time how important that was to them. But now when I talk to them, and I mean, they are like my lifeline in everything that happened. Now talking to them, it's just awesome when they tell me stuff like that, because they are such an extension of him that I don't know what I would do without, like, just having his friends.
Yeah, sure. At what age did you feel that something was transpiring with Eddie?
Wow, it's crazy to think about, because in a sense, it all feels like it happened so fast, but it was actually over like a good amount of time. He was hit by a car at 18. So he was really badly injured, to the point where they didn't even know if he was going to make it. In my eyes, he made a miraculous recovery. Like, everybody was so inspired by his recovery, but in his eyes, it was a little bit different. Obviously, he had pain medicine coming off of that, like coming home from that. He was in the hospital for a while, rehab for a while, but coming home, he had pain meds. But he was pretty adamant about not wanting to take medication. Pretty much all of his life, he was adamant about not wanting to, even Tylenol for a headache. He was like, I just need to drink more water. I can get through it. Like, I don't need to take anything.
Okay.
But he still did have pain. He had metal rods in his legs. So when he was skating, he had a lot of pain. Honestly, the best information that I have is that he'd met a girl. Not even sure where they met. I think it was like mutual friends. And she had a Percocet problem. So she kind of introduced him to Percocets in a different way, which was smoking them, which I never even knew was a thing. And told him that will really help with his pain. He'll be able to skate better, like without all the pain in his legs and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it started. And then when he was hanging out with her, I noticed like just a lot of inconsistencies in his stories, what was going on. There was a time where they like used my car without asking me, which was like questionable because he really didn't do that kind of stuff. And it just kind of like progressed from there. He went and stayed with my mom for a little while. And then I started to really notice something was going on with stuff that my mom was telling me. And my brother he's very intuitive with that kind of stuff, a lot more than I am, like as a mom, like not wanting to believe it, but I had a feeling. So I asked my brother if he could let him move in with him in Philly because my son always loved Philly, always loved the city and stuff like that. So, and that was a good place for him to skate. So I asked my brother, like, if he could come stay with him for a while and he can keep an eye on him and just see like how he, like feel him out. And my brother came to me and was like, something is definitely off. I'm going to look for more clues, basically.
Okay.
And when my brother finally came to me and was like, he's definitely doing heroin. I found a rehab. I booked him a flight and I drove to my brother's house. I told my son, I said, get in my car. We have to talk. I took him out to get something to eat. And I said, I have a flight for you to go to California tonight and you have to go to rehab. And of course he was like, I don't need rehab. What are you talking about? You know? But it just kind of progressed from I think the pain, and it's just one of those things you try and the escape is so real that there's no like looking back. And, you know, I do think mental health has a big part in it, like plays a big part in it. And, so anyway, at that point I sent him to rehab. He did pretty well with the rehab. He got out of rehab. He wanted to come back home. But then, you know, he did good for a while and then he kind of went missing again after that. And then at that point he said he will never go back to a rehab. He didn't want to do that. So he tried like some sober living houses, a few times, and it would just last for a while before he would just kind of go back to it. Then on December 22nd, he had plans to meet up with his friends to go to a party for their band. They finally got their little band together and were actually playing in some bars, which was really cool. And he did mention to me he had a toothache. And I'm really curious now if that toothache, like the pain from that, is what he just couldn't deal with. And I said, you know, I know you're going to meet up with your friends, but tomorrow, like, let's get you help. Like, let's go to the dentist to make sure we get this tooth taken care of. Like, I don't want you to be in pain. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I didn't find out till the next day that he never showed up. Basically, I dropped him off where he was supposed to be going. He kissed me and hugged me goodbye and said that he loved me, but he never showed up for that little party they were having for their band. And I didn't know until the next day. And that's when we figured that, you know, he made his way to Camden and was missing again. And that was December 22nd. And although I looked for him and other people were looking for him, December 29th was when he was actually found. So he was in Camden all that time.
They say the holy water's watered down, and this town's lost its faith. Our colors will fade eventually, so if our time is running out, day after day, we'll make the mundane a masterpiece. Oh my, oh my.
Just out there and didn't go back. He had a house. He didn't go back to his house.
Yeah, you were saying that he had his own house.
Yeah, he had his own house. He definitely, I mean, he could have done whatever he wanted in his own house, but he chose to stay out there. I think that was part of his compassion, because he wanted to keep it far away from me,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew that it like hurt me so bad. I mean, I know that there's like such a huge stigma around it, but I can honestly say that kid never stole from me, never did anything that he thought would hurt me. I think he purposely just stayed away from me when he was doing anything, because he didn't want to hurt me. And he just, it was so weird, but I feel like he just had some kind of like peace from his own mind when he was doing it, which breaks my heart, because I just wanted nothing more for him to be happy.
From the moment like you woke up, take us through the day, walk us through what happened.
Woke up that morning, Saturday morning. I was away in Florida with my other kids. I remember we were staying with family, but they were out of the house for some reason. So it was just me, myself, my husband, and my other children. And it was around 10 o'clock, and we were all going out like to the pool. We were just getting like all situated, sunblock on and all that stuff. And I knew that there was somebody going to look for Eddie, because we hadn't heard from him in a couple of days. And I knew he was out looking for him. So I was checking my phone often to see if he had heard anything. And my husband was in the pool and his phone rang, and I got out to check his phone, and it was a different number that I didn't know. And by the time I got to it, I missed it. So I asked my husband, I'm like, can you just get out of the pool and call this number back? It was a weird number. And he called the number back, and he was talking to somebody, and he was talking calmly, but I just had a really bad feeling. But I really thought my bad feeling, honestly, was he's in the hospital. Somebody found him. Maybe he overdosed, but he's in the hospital, and I got to get home. And I guess my husband just really didn't want to actually tell me, because I felt like he was just stalling. And I just kept saying, like, what's going on? What's going on? But he just kept kind of walking away from me. Like, he just couldn't even look me in the face. And I immediately started calling the guy that was out looking for him. And he answered the phone. And he just basically said, I'm so sorry. And I don't know, I just remember screaming at the top of my lungs, just screaming over and over again. And I don't know. Then after that, I feel like I just went numb. I don't know. I don't know. Just blank. I just felt like empty. Like there was no way that could be possible.
And he was how old?
23.
So the same baby that was born on Our Lady of Lourdes 23 years
Yeah.
earlier. wasn't too far from the hospital.
No, he was right there. He was in Camden. He was so close. And the crazy thing was they told me, oh, he was in a field. Like, I don't know where there's a field in Camden, but I don't know. I'll never know if someone left him there, if there was somebody with him. I will never know the actual circumstances, but he was obviously alone when he was found, just in a field. That's what they told me. It was found by some medical students that were out on the streets, interning for the hospital. Ironically,
Wow.
Yeah, they basically just said it was too late.
What if the night sky was missing the moon? There were no shooting stars to use wishing on you. And all of my sorrows, I just want.
So that's really hard to think. There's medical students like walking
So close.
so close.
And I always wonder, was there somebody there that, knew what was going on, but just said, I don't want to be part of this and walked away, but I guess that's just the questions I'll always have.
So you had to fly home and knowing
So yeah,
this was happened.
I debated on flying home. A lot of my friends and other family wanted me to fly home, but I decided I was going to grieve at home, or I was going to grieve there where I could just focus on my other kids and we could all just be together and we didn't have to worry about being home and taking care of anything. Like we were there, we were staying with other people who were taking care of everything. So we could just focus on us and being together. We went to the beach on New Year's and just kind of like, sat on the beach together and just talked about how it was crazy that we were starting a whole new year without him. And there was nothing else to do but to be together. I mean, there was no fight anymore. There was nothing to fight for, or there was nothing we could do.
Right.
It was over. That's basically how I felt. It's over. And there's nothing we can do but be together with each other. And I just wanted to be there for my other kids because my second son took it just probably the hardest. They were the closest in age, and he's a really sensitive kid too. So I knew that he was going to take it really hard. He really looked up to his big brother a lot. So that's really just what my focus was at that point. But when I did fly home, all of Eddie's friends just swarmed my house, which was amazing. And eventually we had a funeral, which I could have taken or leaving. That wasn't him. He wasn't, a super religious funeral type of kid. But then his friends insisted on having a show for him. They got their band together and played music and had like a donation bucket out to feed the homeless, or like, to donate the money to something. But his friends stopped by a ton just to talk and bring videos and, anything that they could come, pictures that I may have never seen, all of the things. And they really, really they really got me through, because they were who he spent his time with. In the last few years, he was 23. He didn't hang out with me much at that point. So them being at my house was so great to me.
So comforting.
It's so comforting. Like, I mean, my friends were there and my family were there, but just having people that have spent time with him in the last like few years was just meant everything to me.
'Cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you?
Hi, Denise. Thank you for
Hi.
being here. Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you were born, how many children you have.
I was born in Lady Lord's Hospital in Camden. I was raised in Gloucester City, lived there most of my life. I have altogether 7 children, 3 stepchildren and 4 biological children.
Okay. So we're going to be talking a little bit about your daughter, Melissa, who Melissa I knew personally. She was one of my students when I worked in Gloucester City. So I've known her for a long time. What kind of a child was Melissa?
Melissa loved doing things. She loved going to the park. She loved to sing. She loved to dance. She liked to do arts and crafts. She loved the kids. She loved to spend time with the little ones, especially my nephew. She helped take care of him a lot. And she really liked the babies. And I guess when she found out that I was pregnant with her brother, Austin, she was really excited. And we were all excited, you know.
That's nice. I can see how excited she would be. What were her hobbies growing up?
She liked to go places. She liked to dance. She loved to dance and listen to her music. She always had the same music playing over and over again. She liked to hang out with her friends. She liked to walk. Her and her friends would walk around and go to the parks. Melissa became a young mother. She was 16 when she found out she was pregnant, and she had Stephen when she was 17. So a lot of her childhood was already kind of gone for her, being a mother at such a young age. But she loved Stephen, you know, and she did everything, you know, that she was supposed to be a mom. I know it was hard, but she did a good job.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a little unique that she was such a young mom, and she was, you know, still in school, and that can be challenging. How do you feel looking back that Melissa's personalities and the hobbies that she had started to change over time?
I would say around when Stephen was about a year old. So Melissa's now around 18. I noticed some of the kids she was hanging with, some of the things she was doing. Her personality, she became manipulative at times. And sometimes she would lie and I would catch her, but it was like little things. Like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going here, but she wasn't there. I really didn't see everything coming until around when Stephen was 2. There was sometimes we were called that she was in places she shouldn't have been with Stephen. People would call and tell us to come pick them up. We went and picked them up from the hotels, or she was supposed to come back for him when he was at someone's house and she didn't return. And at one point she asked me if I would take Stephen. And at first I just thought, you know, it was teen mom. She was tired of being a mom. So I just brushed it off, not realizing there was a problem. And down the road, things had gotten worse to the point that I said, listen, if you want me to take Stephen, then we're going to have to go do this, you know, at the court, which we did. And it was, I believe, November of 2004 when I got custody of Stephen. And it just from then on, that night, Melissa really got upset and was making a lot of threats. And I asked her to leave for the sake of the children that were still in the home. And she went and lived with her friend Jackie. And that's where things really got worse. She OD'd the one time and we got the phone call, and me and Lindsay went to the hospital to see her. And then she went to a place to get help. They put her right into a place. And that's where she met the family she had lived with. She met them while she was down in like the different rehabs and places down there. And they became like family to her as well. And Melissa never came back home, so to speak. She stayed with Deb and Spree and their family. She would come home and spend time with us and, you know, made sure she was there for the holidays and for the birthdays and for the special moments, or even just to come and visit. And from then on, honestly, I never thought she was fully clean of everything. The heroin I did. But I knew that at points she was doing pills or smoking marijuana. And taking her Klonopins or whatever, but I never in a million years thought she got back to heroin.
You know, we had a conversation a while back, and I remember you told me that you remember that she nodded off at a birthday party. Can you talk a little bit about
She was actually watching Daphne. We went to get a new mattress for our bed. And Daphne was maybe a month old, if that. And we asked her to watch her, and she said that was fine. So we left, and we came back. We were there for a while because it took a while to go through everything. We came back, and I just noticed her like nodding out like this on the step. And I said to my husband, I said, something's wrong. I said, we didn't leave, and she was like this, because I would have never left my child like that. And he said to me, what do you mean? I said, she's nodding out. I said, she's on something. And he's like, but what do you mean? And I said, what do you mean? I said, look at her. Something's wrong. I said, she needs to be talked to right now. So I went outside and I talked to her. I said, Melissa, I don't know what you're on, but I would have never left you with my child had I known that you were going to be like that when I came back. I said, something could have happened. I said, she's a new baby. I said, this can never happen again. And she's like, it's my Klonopins. Me, not understanding anything about Klonopins, I was like, okay, well then maybe that's what it is. I've never taken them. I've never seen somebody on them. Mm-hmm. I now know that Klonopins don't make you that to nod like that. Mm-hmm. It was a hard realization to find out down the road. But at that point, I didn't expect it to be heroin down, when you find out.
Because now that we're into this, a lot of parents that I talk to say that, there was this nod, and it's almost a red flag that people have to really watch. Not a tired mom nod.
Well, I've seen it before with her brother. I have seen it. But like I said, I questioned her about it, and she said it was from the Klonopins. Now, I don't know how many Klonopins she took. I don't know if whatever else she did while I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. But I just know that was really the last time she ever stayed alone like that with Daphne.
Okay. So Denise, tell me about that day from the moment, like you woke up. Tell me everything that you can remember about the day that Melissa.
That morning, so Lindsay, my younger stepdaughter, she was going to the methadone clinic, and she was working, and she was living with us, trying to stay clean and sober. And I had just had Kaiser, was maybe 20 days old, if that. And my room was connected to Daphne's room. We have like a door in between our rooms. And I had the bassinet up against the wall. And Lindsay, I don't know, I heard her screaming. And I couldn't make out the words at first. And then when I heard her running up the steps scream, Melissa's dead, Melissa's gone, Melissa's dead, I pushed the bassinet over. I didn't knock it over. I just pushed it out of the way so I could get up, because my side of the bed was to the door and my husband's side of the bed was to the other side. So I jumped up and I was like, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? She's like, Melissa's dead. And I was like, what do you mean she's dead? And she said, Melissa overdosed or she's dead. And I just remember getting on the phone and talking to, I think it was Maurice at that point. Here they were calling our phones all night, but I had turned my phone off. I turned our cell phones off at night and only left the house phone on. And they didn't have the house phone. They only had our cell phones. So we didn't get any of the calls that they had called us early that morning that she had passed away. And the detectives and everybody was already there because there was a big custody issue with my grandson, Melissa's youngest son, Davian. And we were talking to them, and they were explaining to us that, you know, they really couldn't say for sure, but, you know, she had been there for some time, and that they were going to investigate everything and get in touch with us and have their coroner do everything. And if we wanted them to do all these tests, like the toxology, and did we want a autopsy? And I said, absolutely. We wanted the autopsy. We wanted the tox screen. We wanted everything, because we didn't know what happened.
From the way that I've been living.
That was really a blur after all that happened. I just remember thinking, like, how am I going to tell Stephen? Mm-hmm. Because she had promised him she would never do that again. And I think instead of me hurting, I hurt more for him, because she had promised him that. And it's hard to explain that to a child, that their mom chose to do that over their promise to them. Mm-hmm. So I tried to get a hold of his dad and everybody and his dad's family so they could be there in support of him, as well as, you know, my family and all of us. I called my mom. I told my mom, and just had everybody call family and her friends to let them know. And I didn't really speak too much to the people that she lived with, because you just don't really know. You don't know what happened. You can't say anything. You don't know anything. And I just felt like at one point, honestly, I was like, I wish she would have been with us, because I know that the way I would have been on top of her, and maybe we could have saved her. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel sometimes. I guess it's guilt because we weren't there, and then it's guilt that she was alone. I think that's the hardest part, knowing that she didn't have anybody there. But
so she basically died alone. Mm-hmm. And it's so hurtful to even think about, let alone living through it.
Because, you know, when someone gets sick, you can say goodbye. You have that closure, but when someone suddenly passes and you didn't get to say goodbye, it just hurts that much more. Mm-hmm. And I think I struggled with it because me and Melissa didn't have the best of relationship all the time. I wanted the best for her and always did. But at the same point, she didn't like my advice. It's like I was the stepmom, but I was the one that cared, but she knew that. But at the same point, she didn't want my advice. And she knew that if I knew she had a problem, I would have got her help, because that's what I always did. Mm-hmm. For every one of them. Every one of my stepkids, when they had a problem, I took them to get help. I took them to rehabs. I promised to go to the different meetings with them. I was there when they needed me. And I just think that had I known, you know, more, had we been made aware of things, I don't think the outcome would have been different, but I like to hope that it could have.
Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the times. Welcome to the final show. I hope you're wearing your best clothes. You can't bribe the door on your way to the sky. You look pretty good down here.
Again, I said this is a little unique because I knew Melissa for a long time, and I enjoyed having her as a student. And I remember she had those piercing blue eyes. It's just good that you're sharing your story. You shared with me a copy of her autopsy report, and it said accidental fentanyl poisoning.
Fentanyl intoxication.
Yeah. That's a hard thing to read as a mother. If you had any advice for people watching this, or for parents who have experienced the nod and experienced what you have, what would your advice be?
Try to get them help, even if they don't want it. Even if I know that they say that they have to want it for themselves, and that is truthful. But sometimes they need someone to carry them because they're too weak. They can't do it themselves. It's just like raising a child. You need a village to help you in every aspect of having a child, whether it's when they're born, helping them be raised, or when they're sick, it's helping them get the care they need, or when they have an addiction. It's being their support throughout everything in their life, whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong.
Bearing sorrow, having fun. But back home you'll always run to sweet Melissa. Freight train, each car looks the same.
I'll tell a little story, I guess, so this was in December when he passed away, February 6th, this is his birthday. And we go on his birthday, I usually do a big collection for the homeless in Camden. And actually, like, a couple schools were involved. They would do a collection at school, and we would just do like toiletries and stuff, and then make sandwiches. We went to Camden the first year, and I had his picture with me and stuff, and there were so many people that remembered him and actually like told me stories about him. And there was one guy that just really was like, I don't know, it just touched my heart, because he was just like, oh, I know your son. He's like, he loved you so much, and he talked so highly of you. And he said, he told me he has 2 brothers and a sister, and he told me that you were like the best mom ever, and just like stuff that really made me feel like, I was doing the best that I could do, and like Eddie knew that, which makes me feel wonderful, because I always questioned what I might have done wrong to like get to this point. But he told me that There was a group of people in Camden selling heroin that they knew that was laced. Sometimes they offer to give it away for free, basically, because they know it's going to hook somebody because it's laced with fentanyl. And when people get to the point where they die or almost die, people flock to them for their drugs. And he said, you wouldn't think it would be that way. You would think that people would run the other direction, but that's not the case when you're addicted and you're in that mindset. You actually go looking for the stuff that puts you that close to the edge. And he said, I kept trying to tell your son, like, stay away from that area, stay away from those people. Like, if they're giving it to you for free or for cheaper, there's a reason. And it's because they're trying to draw people in, and it's dangerous. And he said, I can take you to that area and show you where those people are if you want. But I didn't feel compelled to go there at that point. Like, I'm just here to honor his memory. And I don't know what would have came out of it. I was never out for justice. That's just the way everything happened was horrible. And at that point in my life, I wasn't ready to fight. I mean, now I want to get the word out, and I want people to know, like, never to even start. And I want to do what I can to, like, spread awareness about it. And I want people to know that it's not just kids that come from, like, bad homes, but I don't feel the need to punish anybody, if that makes sense. I just want people to know not to start and what they're really getting themselves into. Because one time he told me that doing heroin is like the best vacation he's ever been on. And when he said that to me, it really, really broke me, because that's terrifying in my eyes. I can't imagine just thinking that, like, doing a drug would make you feel that euphoric, that it's the best vacation you've ever been on.
Right.
Like, and
it's so hard to understand.
It is hard to understand. And to me, that made me want to never touch anything, because I know I love a good vacation. I love relaxing on the beach in the sun, but to think that you're sitting on a street in Camden taking a drug and thinking that's the best vacation you've ever been on, that's terrifying.
It's even worse in Philly. It really is just bad in both because of the tranquilizer they're putting in it now too.
And if you had, Jennifer, advice for other mothers, if you had to think of one thing that you want to say, not just to another mom, but to people in general, what would that be?
I would say people need to talk about this, number one, because it's not going to bring back my child, but it might save yours. And if you're going to smoke marijuana, please get it from the dispensary, because you don't know what's out there. It's in everything. The fentanyl.
Yeah, it's a definite crisis, and it's happening every day.
Yes, it is the biggest killer of our population from age 18 to 45. And unfortunately, my son's in that statistic.
I would definitely say to trust your instincts. If you really think that your kids are doing something, you're probably right. And they will fight you on it. They will lie to you. They will tell you all the things that you want to hear. but you have to stand your ground. I did have people around me, mainly my husband, telling me something wasn't right. But as a mom, you don't want to believe that your child's doing anything like that harsh, I guess I would say. Like you would never believe that. How did that happen? How did he get to that point?
Right.
Like it just feels like it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And you really, really have to trust your instincts, because once they're gone, they're gone. I mean, there's no coming back from that. So no matter how hard you have to fight, no matter how bad they make you feel, no matter the things they say, I mean, he would threaten me with things, you know, oh, if you just don't believe me, so I should just go, you know, kill myself because you don't believe me. And that was hard to hear as a mom. Nobody wants to hear their child say that, right. But it was more of a threat because he just didn't want me to know what was going on, obviously. And I mean, there's instincts that I didn't follow that I really look back and I wish I did. But I try to always tell myself, even if I did those things, instead of asking myself, what if, I try to just say, even if I did that, we still could have had the same outcome.
A couple days before she passed, she had said something. And I remember thinking it was heartfelt. I actually felt for her. And it was saying, how come sometimes you could be around all the people in the world but feel so alone?
There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand up.
And
it's tough.
That wasn't long. Maybe a couple days before she passed away, that she posted that on Facebook. And I remember thinking, was she depressed? Was she upset? Now I'm like, she must have been struggling and knowing that, you know, she didn't know what to do.
Well,
I just think, you know, this hits everybody, it hits every family. Everybody knows somebody that has passed away. Mm-hmm. And if even just one person gets the courage to help or save somebody,